My name is Sister Bogumiła Malikowska, and with me is Sister Lois Ann Richiardi. We are both members of the International Congregation of the Sisters of the Holy Family of Nazareth in Holy Spirit Province in Australia. I am serving the Church here for 4 years and Sister Lois Ann for almost 44 years. We are going to talk about how Sister Lois Ann recognized her call to a religious life. Thank you for being here today, Sister Lois Ann. Would you tell us a little about yourself?
Yes, certainly. I am the second eldest of 9 children. I have 5 sisters and 3 brothers. And we were all born and we grew up in Lincoln Park, New Jersey.
Oh, you are a Jersey girl.
Yes. In those days, Lincoln Park was a small country town. And I attended the local state school. And in year 5, I transferred to a newly built Catholic school. And in our class, there were 13 children. And the Sisters of the Holy Family of Nazareth were our teachers.
And how long have you been a sister?
Oh, a very long time. Even though my years don't quite measure up with Abraham's 175, I am moving swiftly in that direction and hopefully gracefully. I celebrated my 25th Jubilee in 1983 in Australia, my 50th in 2008 in Rome, and 2018, this year, marks the 60th Jubilee of my religious life. Imagine that.
Congratulations! This year I am celebrating my 25th Jubilee of religious life.
Oh, congratulations to you too, Sister Bogumiła. You still have a long way to go.
Thank you. Now to your story. When were you aware that God was calling you to the consecrated life?
Yes, good question. What I believe to be true is that God called me when I was still in my mother's womb, when I was the closest to God that I would ever be on this earth. And I believe in the very depth of my heart that somehow I sensed God calling and treasured it, just as Mary treasured things and pondered them in her heart.
Like you heard God calling you with the ears of your heart.
Yes. I must have been about 10 years old, and one Sunday the priest announced that there would be 40-hour devotion in our church. I had no idea what 40-hour devotion was. However, it seemed that my heart did. So I told my parents that I was going to go to the 40-hour devotion in the church, and that I was going to spend the night there with Jesus. And being a somewhat practical kid, I figured that if I were going to spend the night with Jesus in church, I had better dress appropriately for the occasion, and I put on my pajamas. I had it all figured out. I pinned up the legs of my pink pajamas and slipped on a skirt to cover them up, and off I went, and it was still light out. The church was approximately 2 miles away from home, and that created no problem because I used to walk that distance every day to school.
You really sounded determined.
Yes, I certainly was. And finally I arrived at the church and opened the door, not knowing what to expect. I vaguely remember that there were a few people scattered about the church. Then my eyes, but maybe it was my heart, that spotted the monstrance on the altar. And I was drawn, maybe led, to the very front seat, as close as I could get. And somehow I knew that that was God.
How did you know that was God?
How I knew that, I don't know. I just remember being there, and that was enough for me. It was that night before the Blessed Sacrament that I fell in love with Jesus. And I knew that I wanted to be with him all my life.
You fell in love with Jesus.
I had no concept at the time. All I knew was that Jesus and I were having a sleepover. And I was quite surprised when someone came and tapped me on the shoulder and said that I had to leave the church because he was closing out. I do remember objecting and reminding him that the 40 hours were not yet up, but he was unimpressed with my remark. So I got up and I walked out of the church into the dark. A few seconds later, my dad arrived to pick me up. You see, my parents read the church bulletin and knew that the church closed at 10 o'clock. But as I look back now, I can clearly see that my beautiful parents guided and protected me from a distance, almost like they stepped back so as to leave plenty of space for Jesus to do Jesus' thing in me.
Your parents entrusted you with Jesus.
Yes, it seems that way. The following year I made my confirmation, which was very special. I remember like today that day, the lovely white dress that my mother made for me, the exact seat that I sat in, and the question that the bishop asked me.
What was the question?
The question was, what is the church? And I remember answering it very proudly indeed. In those days, I didn't know anything about charism, spirituality, or even religious congregations, but that did not matter. Somehow I made the connection that the Jesus I am in love with, present in the Blessed Sacrament, is the same Jesus that the Sisters of the Holy Family of Nazareth love, and I was to be one of them.
So, Jesus present in the Blessed Sacrament became your heartbeat, your life.
Yes, and during that memorable 40-hour devotion, somehow my heart heard and responded yes to Jesus' invitation to consecrate my life to him. And it was on my confirmation day that I believe Jesus confirmed it. So, Sister Bogumiła, that is why I am a sister of the Holy Family of Nazareth today. Hopefully I've answered your question.
Yes, thank you very much, Sister Lois Ann. And enjoy God's daily blessing during your 60th Jubilee year.
Thank you. And thank you, Sister Bogumiła. And may this, your 25th Jubilee year, be for you a time of great joy and gratitude.
Thank you.